Welcome to my channel, where your adventure into the future starts right now. Step into a vibrant universe filled with groundbreaking technology, breathtaking alien landscapes, and exhilarating sci-fi narratives that challenge your imagination. From daring explorations of distant galaxies to haunting journeys through dystopian societies, we uncover the most captivating stories and innovative ideas that will shape the world of tomorrow. Subscribe today and join us on an incredible intergalactic voyage that promises to inspire and thrill. The Warzone had been silent for a long time, a strange quiet settling over the barren landscapes that once teemed with the energy of battle. It wasn't that there was no fighting, no bloodshed, or no casualties, far from it. The war between the Tezalites, a race of towering insectoid warriors, and the Vraxians, their equally formidable reptilian counterparts, had been going on for centuries. It had become a brutal stalemate. The planets in this sector, once lush with resources and life, had been ravaged by the constant bombardment of weapons so advanced that even the most sophisticated minds in the galaxy struggled to understand their true purpose. Yet, in all of this, no one expected the arrival of another force so terrifying, so incomprehensible, that it sent shockwaves through the ranks of both sides. The galaxy had seen many things, but none of them could have prepared for the soldiers from the Deathworld. The galaxy's intelligence networks had gathered information on hundreds of worlds, from planets inhabited by sentient, peaceful beings to those of warlike species that fought for territory, resources, and pride. The intelligence agencies thought they knew it all. They knew of the Xanthor, the brilliant strategists and psychics who could manipulate the battlefield with the flick of a wrist. They knew of the Shivari, the brutal and near-invincible warriors with body armor made of living metal. They knew of the Raelons, whose entire race was a swarm of genetically engineered killing machines, all controlled by a collective mind. And yet, even with all this knowledge, they could not predict what happened when the soldiers from Earth humans, who hailed from a small, seemingly insignificant world called Earth, entered the war zone. No one had ever paid much attention to Earth. It was a relatively young planet with a history full of conflict, strife, and struggle. While the rest of the galaxy advanced in ways unimaginable, Earth had been left behind, its inhabitants often seen as primitive by galactic standards. They had no great fleets, no advanced psychic abilities, and no inherent biological advantage. The humans were, by all accounts, weak. They were a species of flesh and bone, bound by their limitations. But what the galaxy had failed to realize was that humanity, despite its relative physical fragility, had something far more terrifying: a boundless capacity for survival, ingenuity, and war. It was this very capacity that had caught the attention of the Vraxian fleet, a race of lizard-like beings with a penchant for conquest. In their arrogance, they had underestimated the potential of the humans. They saw Earth as a minor player, not worthy of their full attention. That all changed when a solitary human ship, a relic of an ancient war, crashed into the Vraxian command station on the moon of Vraxis 7. The ship, small and battered, appeared to be an artifact of a forgotten war. The Vraxians initially assumed it was nothing more than a failed attempt at a retreat, another abandoned relic of humanity's desperation. But what they didn't know was that this was a message from humanity that would change the course of the war forever. The ship was carrying a team of soldiers, veterans of wars long past, men and women whose very names had become legends. These were not just any soldiers. They were the last of the Earth's war-hardened veterans, survivors of a world known as the Deathworld. The name Deathworld came from the fact that Earth had been one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy, a planet where the very environment was hostile to human life. A planet filled with predators, natural disasters, and deadly diseases. Earth had forced humanity to adapt, evolve, and survive in ways no other species could comprehend. Every human who grew up on Earth was conditioned to fight for their life, to endure, and to survive at all costs. It was a world where every day was a battle for survival, and those who were born there were made of sterner stuff than any alien species could imagine. The soldiers who emerged from the wrecked ship were grizzled veterans, their faces scarred by the horrors of battle. They had fought in wars against alien invaders, rogue AI systems, and massive galactic empires. Their eyes gleamed with the cold fury of soldiers who had seen too much, and their hands were steady with the weight of countless weapons. These were not soldiers who followed orders blindly. They had no command structure, no flag under which to fight. They fought for something much deeper, for the survival of humanity, for the pride of their world, and for the honor of their fallen comrades. When the Vraxians realized that these soldiers were not just survivors, but battle-hardened veterans of a war they could not understand, the shockwave rippled through their ranks. They had seen warriors before, powerful ones whose physical prowess was unmatched. They had seen races who could move faster than light, whose strength could crush entire cities with a single blow. But none of them had ever seen soldiers like these humans. The Vraxians, in their hubris, had assumed that they would dominate the battlefield, as they had done for centuries. But these humans did not fight like other species. They fought with a brutal efficiency and cunning that unnerved even the most hardened of Vraxian commanders. The first battle they fought together, these humans against the combined might of the Vraxians, was nothing short of legendary. They were outnumbered and outgunned, their bodies weaker than the Vraxians' thick, reptilian hides, but they fought with a tenacity that caught their enemies off guard. It wasn't just their training that made them formidable. It was their understanding of survival. They didn't fight for glory or fame. They fought because they had to. And in that fight, they knew how to make every move count, how to use the terrain, how to outthink their opponents, and how to strike with precision. The battle was a slaughter. The Vraxians, though strong and resilient, were ill-prepared for the sheer brutality of these soldiers. They had no idea how to counter the tactics employed by the humans, who used guerrilla warfare, sabotage, and sheer force of will to overcome their superior numbers. The shock of the battle reverberated throughout the Vraxian command hierarchy. The alien generals, long used to their superiority, now found themselves questioning everything they had believed about the galaxy's balance of power. The humans weren't just surviving, they were winning. They were taking down entire Vraxian strongholds, ambushing convoys, and dismantling command centers with alarming precision. They were everywhere, it seemed, operating in the shadows, disrupting the flow of the war. As the war continued, the Vraxians became more desperate. They sent their best soldiers to hunt down the human veterans, but no matter how many they sent, the humans just kept fighting. The more the Vraxians attacked, the more they learned about the humans' terrifying ability to adapt and survive. The humans didn't fight like anyone else. They fought with the knowledge that no one was coming to save them, that they were alone on the battlefield, and it was up to them to survive, to win. They didn't have the luxury of relying on overwhelming numbers or advanced technology. They used what they had, their wits, their bodies, and their experience. The human success didn't go unnoticed by the Tezalites. The Tezalites, a race of insectoid warriors, had long been in a state of cold war with the Vraxians. They had watched the conflict from a distance, waiting to see who would emerge victorious. The Tezalites, unlike the Vraxians, valued intellect and precision, and they began to see the humans as a potential threat. A species that could not only survive in the most hostile environments, but also defeat the Vraxians in battle, was not one to be underestimated. The Tezalites began to strategize on how to deal with this unexpected force. Their spies infiltrated the human forces, trying to learn their tactics, their strategies, and their weaknesses. But the humans were always one step ahead. There was a growing realization among the galaxy's leaders that the war was no longer just between the Vraxians and the Tezalites. The humans had become a third force in the equation, one that had the potential to change the entire outcome of the conflict. The Vraxians, realizing they could not simply crush the humans with brute force, began to negotiate, offering temporary ceasefires and alliances in an attempt to placate the human threat. But the humans had no interest in negotiation. They had no interest in alliances. They fought to survive, and they would not be swayed by the empty promises of their enemies. As the human veterans continued to fight, they became legends in their own right. Their names were spoken with reverence and fear across the galaxy. They were the ghosts in the machines, the shadows on the battlefield. They fought not because they had to, but because they believed in something greater than themselves. They believed in their homeworld, Earth, and the idea that no matter how small or insignificant a species might seem, it could still change the course of the galaxy if it had the will to do so. The Warzone, once a place of death and destruction, became a stage for the human veterans to display the true meaning of warfare. They didn't rely on advanced weaponry or overwhelming numbers. They relied on something far more terrifying: their will to survive, to protect, and to win. And as the final battles raged, as the galaxy's great powers collided in a storm of violence and chaos, one thing became clear: the Vraxians, the Tezalites, and all the other species who had thought themselves invincible had underestimated humanity. They had underestimated what it meant to fight on a death world. The war was far from over, but the galaxy would never be the same again. Humanity had entered the war zone, and it had shocked the galaxy to its very core.